Karibuni, karibuni everyone. Karibuni, and thank you so much for joining. All right. Thank you so much for joining and for accepting to be with us on this live. Um, Thank you, karibuni sana to everyone who's joining us. And I'd just like to give a highlight of why the topic youth and sustainability. Because I've been getting the question quite a lot, and we're not going to overthink it here. Youth, because I am a young person, and Africa has the highest number of youths. It is recorded. I think I won't mention the statistics of where and when, please, but I'll just say Africa has the youngest population worldwide, which is very important for us as the young people. We are so proud of that. At the same time, sustainability, because I'm looking at growth as a young person, not just myself, but for the future to come. Because I want to really applaud you guys for also taking the lead and guiding us as the young people. You've gone before us. We're not calling you old, please. You did not hear it here.
No.
We're not calling you old.
Whether you call it or not, that's the truth.
Yeah, that's the truth. Okay, sawa. So maybe I'll just go direct and start our topic with a bit of a light question to inquire from you guys. Why, I mean, going through your posts, going through what you share, you're passionate about the young people. So why the young people? Apart from just the young people being the youngest, I mean, Africa having the youngest population, why would you consider the young people to be at the front of, when it comes to matters development? Yes. We'll start with you, Daktari.
Yeah, thank you very much, Petronilla, for having me and my good friend Kelly, and also to those who have joined in to watch. I mean, this is a beautiful conversation, and I think I would like to, before I answer that question, to build on what Kelly said. Actually, life is a moving target, right? What you knew yesterday, definitely today might not have meaning the same way it had yesterday, and definitely you have to continuously learn to then be able to catch up with the reality of now. And it is the same with life. We are born, and by crawling we learn to stand. And through the processes of standing, we fall, we get bruises in our arms, on our legs, and that is a journey. But that journey itself have got different categories. You are born, you become a teenager, you become a youth, and then get into an adult. And every stage of life have something in which each and every one of us have to do. And when you look at the entire African continent today, the young generation that came before us played a role in their 20s and in their 30s and late 40s. And when you look at the current continent today, that age group of 20s and 30s and 40s is actually constituting the bulk of the population, over 60% of the entire population of the continent being that age group. But what is not being discussed is this age group that we have today, called the youth. Between the ages of 15 to 25, almost 70% of the entire African continent. And between the ages of 25 to 35, almost 60% of the 1.4 billion people. So the point then becomes, at this point in time, we have more young people than old people. But what is not being discussed in this debate is that in the next 10, 20 years, we will not have that anymore. So the discussion is as if Africa is a young continent. We, the youth, we are youth. We will be youthful today. We'll be youthful tomorrow. We'll be youthful for the rest of our life. Yes, we can be youthful in our hearts and in our actions. So at this point in time, to answer your question, yes, the population of the continent is over 60% youthful. They are young people, but these young people also have different aspirations. And the aspirations are different from the young people of the 60s and the 50s. Because those of the 50s and the 60s wanted to liberate a continent, to have a continent that was self-rule. They were fighting for what we call self-determined rule. But so what I ask today is that we, the young people of this generation, what are we fighting for? Over.
Wow. We, the young people in this current generation, what are we fighting over? I think I'm also left. It's like a rhetoric question for me as well. Kelly, would you like to take it up and share what you have?
Now, a few months ago, I think 2 or something, we had a season of rain, and the rain was very heavy. And the statistics we gathered in Nairobi and its environ is that a lot of buildings collapsed. Yes, a lot of buildings collapsed because you realize that some buildings were built on, the swampy places. Some buildings did not have the right foundation. And so when the vicissitude, the so-called flood came, they could not withstand the vicissitude. And so what happened? They sank. Some of them even killed people. And so that brings us to the point of the benefit of the foundation. If the foundation is not well laid, no matter how much you decorate the house, no matter how tall the house go, it's guaranteed that you'll one day collapse and make useless of the efforts that were invested before. Now, what am I trying to say? If I go a bit biblical, the Bible says that if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? The righteous is someone that we believe is working with God. But if the foundation is wrong, then it doesn't matter what you can do, no matter who you are. So the youth is the foundation. The youth is the foundation. A youth can become anything if given, if they get mentors who can help them to construct the right bearing in life. So if you want to change the health of the tree, you don't go to the leaves, you go to the roots. And so we know that if the youth are well wired mentally, then we can have the right fruits in the future. That's why we are uncommonly passionate about youth, because that we know that is the cause of either the problem or the solution. That is where the solution lies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Also, what Daktari has just mentioned has made me think, and I'm imagining this situation. At this point in time, being a young person, I'm just speaking for myself and also for somebody else among the comment section. You could just tell us what you think about this, the young people who are joining us now. One thing I kind of find hard to, we're in a time where there's so many opportunities as young people that we can explore. But now also the challenges that we are facing are so unique to us that even the people who are ahead of us, we expect them to guide us through these challenges, but they're also unique to them. For example, there's the issue of technology coming in, AI. Now, we're supposed to look for jobs. We're supposed to help maybe develop our nation in our own capacity. But now, the challenges right now are so unique to even the people who have gone before us. Then how then do we move forward? I think that's the barrier that the young people are struggling with, to really crack that, because we have the opportunities, yes, but then the challenges that are coming in, we are coming back to the older people who can help us and guide us through. But it looks like even for you guys, it's also a challenge that we cannot, that you're like, oh my God, this is so unique to us. I mean, how do we move past that? Probably from how you look at it, with the kind of challenges that we are facing as young people.
Yeah, yes, doctor, please. Do some justice on that.
Yeah, so this is the point, and I think, and I like the perspective which Kelly have brought on the question you're asking, Petronella, which is excellent. So this is the point. So I'm trying to push something, and I hope our viewers are going to get this. So I will still get back a little bit to that point I started off with. So
okay.
The foundation, as Kelly have said, needs to be strong, and that foundation is an individual who builds it. So the fact that we are supposed to be supported and guided, that only accounts for about 1% of the effort. 99% is supposed to be effort that comes, it's self-driven by the individual. And what that means is that if you also look from a biblical perspective, unto him that much is given, much is expected.
Much is expected.
You mentioned technology. Today, we are flooded with opportunities when it comes to technology. If you take TikTok and you take Instagram, which in the 60s and in the 50s, those who are so determined and actually fought for self-determined would have liberated the continent and provided all with the freedom we enjoy today. Whether we say it is freedom or not, it is freedom. They never knew one another, and they used to connect with one another through writing mails and sending them through the post office that takes 6 months to reach their destination. But today, within few seconds, you can be able to connect with someone from every corner of this earth. It therefore means that the generation of today, with all the opportunities that they can be able to tap into, and because those opportunities are many, there seems to be something that we are not being told, especially the young people are not being told, or they are told and they don't want to listen to, that you can be able to leverage these places in which you are using sometimes just to communicate problems, to start communicating opportunities. That the space in which you have as Instagram is a market for you to sell your products, to showcase your talents. It's a market for you to connect with people, not in a condescending way or using it to abuse people, because there is something called reputation. What you put out there stays forever. And that digital footprint is what young people do not understand. The image you leave out there, whether you delete it or not, doesn't really matter. The messaging you put out there, automatically people will start to know who you are. So your question on, we have artificial intelligence, we have all the social media spaces today, they are providing opportunity for young people because they can then be able to connect with people who sometimes, most of the time, spend time advancing and regurgitating issues that are quite relevant at that moment but do not bring any value. They end up getting overwhelmed and then take the part that is that of complaining rather than that of solutions. But this message is very simple. Today you can become anything you want. And becoming anything you want is not just in terms of money. It's about reputational ability to be able to stand out and project yourself in the solution space. That you can be able to showcase your skill, whether it is in talking or it is in writing, and use these spaces today that technology has brought us to build a coalition of the willing, and that becomes your market. Imagine having in Instagram followers over 15,000 that are genuine, and you have a product to sell. You're in business. That then means that aspect of building credible, like-minded audience seems not to be the norm, because then we alienate them by projecting just negativity in the name of having 5 minutes or 5 seconds of fame that end up ruining our entire careers. Therefore, the opportunities that are today are not being tapped in the right way, overarchingly, and that needs to change.
Yeah, I think from what I'm getting, you mentioned, as you just explained it to us, is much as there are unique challenges that you're currently facing, something that you can't be able to be like, hey, Daktari, I'm struggling in this, I expect you, the fact that you've gone ahead of me, I expect you to teach me how I'm supposed to deal with this. It shouldn't be that way, but it should be from an individual perspective, to be like, okay, there's this challenge, I can actually come out of it if I set my mind to it. So that means you can do anything you want. And that brings me to what, before Kelly comes in, there's something that Terry wrote in his book, as we even continue to discuss. It says, it is true that when you truly want something, you'll persevere to the end to finally have it. I read the first 3 chapters of your book, and before, I don't even want to say a lot about it before Kelly speaks, but that's the one thing, maybe for anyone who's here with us, I just mentioned that the challenges that we have right now are quite unique to the older generation. Many things are coming in. There are so many opportunities, but then at the same time, we can't find a way of bridging through. So I feel like we'll take something from what Dr. is saying and be like, okay, then here are the challenges, then let's just face them. We can actually find a solution to what we are going through in any other way. We can be, how do we call it? Be innovative and find a way to deal with it. Kelly, would you like to share something on that?
Now, back to the question you asked about the youth, technology, and the rest. You see, there are continents or there are countries where the algorithm of the social media are so regulated that there are certain content that cannot reach those countries because they know the power of mental diet. Are you getting that? They know
Yeah.
that what you consume determines what you will produce. So they avoid by all means. They try to create barriers for mental junks from reaching their countries, because they know that if the young people consume such junk, they will get junk results. Now, if you check very well, our youth, narrowing down to Kenya or Africa, a very small percentage of the youth will get bundles or internet and go to learn something online. They will go for entertainment. I would think that. But the thing is, great people learn while the opposite entertain themselves. You cannot entertain yourself to success. You cannot entertain yourself to prosperity. You can only build yourself the capacity to acquire that.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, there is nothing you want to do that someone else is not doing well, and the person is not is generous enough to share the same information on the social media. The same social media where people earn money, some people have also acquired addiction and all kinds of things.
Yeah, sure.
So the first thing before someone complains, what have you learned from social media? Or because I can tell you for a fact, if you check very well, majority of people, if you take their phones and put on the table and begin to scroll, maybe TikTok, or especially TikTok, or even YouTube, because they have an algorithm that will only suggest for you the kind of things that you like watching. If you take their phones and begin scrolling, you find all kinds of obscene videos. Why? It tells you the kind of things that they keep consuming. So, number one thing that we need to, first of all, check, this same internet is a college to some people. There are people who are earning big time. They never went to any college. They just went online and acquired that knowledge. The same I have acquired uncommon wisdom from this social media. I can tell you for a fact. I have done trainings courtesy of information I got from social media. So the thing is that it's not what you're getting, but how are we using it? You see, if you don't know the use of a product, you'll abuse it. Someone else who knows the right use of that product will make good use of it. So how are we using the opportunities that we have around? That's my take.
Amazing determination. And Kelly, as you always do in your videos, honesty. You know, there's the issue of giving honesty with grace and truth. So yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. Now, it looks like we are getting into a situation whereby there's a conflict within generations. There's the Gen X, Gen Y. Do you know how to differentiate the four? Actually, there are four currently. Do you know how to differentiate the? Anyway, Gen Z.
I don't know the last two.
Which ones?
The millennial and where you belong.
Oh yeah. So there's the Gen Z, which is the 1997 to 2012, millennials 81 to 96.
Yes.
And then the Alpha, which is also currently 2010, 2025. Yes. Do you feel like there's just the issue between, there's always a fight or not really a fight, but there's always there's some tension between generations. Do you think that is caused by how we have evolved over time, or it's just the lack of the African, when you talk of the African values being instilled in us, do you think it's because of the current generation that we are not really in tune with our current values, the African values, or we just, the older generation being the millennials and they're called baby boomers, are just being, how do I say it, not .com, what's the word? Because there's always the tension. But my question would be, do you think that the tension that we have between generations is because of the current challenges that we are facing as the young people, or it's a lack of the African values? Because one thing that also, looking towards Dr. Munan's book, you really value the African values that that were instilled to you when you were young. So I don't know if you've seen that to the current generation, or there's a disconnect.
Yeah, the reality is that a tree that doesn't know where its roots are anchored will definitely fall down very soon. And I think every society on earth do have what brings them together, and those are called values of respect, of humility, values of self-discipline. And this might be discarded in the broader contemporary discourse of issues today, challenges, opportunities, but without asking the question, what keeps a human being together? And what keeps a human being together in this perspective of what we are saying here is what keeps a person grounded. What would make you not to abuse your elder? It is what will keep you grounded. And those are called values. And these values are inculcated in us as we grow up. And the minute those values start to get discarded or thrown out, anytime there is a serious discussion on what can be able to move us forward to transformationally drive progress, then that's where we start to fail. Why do I say like this? I started off by saying 99% of what we need, that effort needs to come from us. Others can only create what we call an enabling environment. I can share information. Kelly shares information. But you cannot go to force somebody to listen to his 2, 3, 4 minutes video if the person individually doesn't want to do that. It means that at the end of the day, regardless of the opportunities that are out there, it is up to the individual to seize those opportunities. And one thing I keep saying, opportunities are not given, they are seized. But the narrative in the continent is that, I hear this narrative, and I'll get back to your question, but I just want to put this in perspective, is, oh, we are not given jobs. Nobody gives jobs to anyone, anywhere in the world. And one of my biggest worry that I shiver sometimes, it really makes me cringe sometimes, is that the global narrative sometimes is brought down to the continent and then lumped into the continent as if that's how things are supposed to work here. That's not wrong. What is wrong is what we African citizens do. We take that narrative wholesale and market it without putting it in the contextual realities of the continent. Africa is a culturally diverse continent with values that are universal. I believe that the values I was taught of humility, of respect, of being one another's keeper, are the same values that in northern, southern, eastern, and central African region, people will attest to you that those values were taught in their homes. But then this is the point. This is the catch-22 to your point. The argument that I am young today and the other person is old is one of the most defeatist, dangerous arguments that is perpetuated in the spheres of youth discussions vis-a-vis the old, the time is gone. We are the ones now to take over and eat. Dangerous narrative that is baseless. This is the point. What we need is a narrative of ideas versus ideas, not age versus age. Because at the end of the day, ideas transform societies. It is in the battle of ideas that the youth are going to win. Why? They have the relevant tools that are needed for solutions today. But the discussion has missed that point, and it is, you are old, I'm young. So that's why I must be given. Stealth narrative, wrong perspective, I will not take anyone anywhere. Here's the point. You have this problem, this is the solution that I have, and I can bring, say, okay, bring it to the table. Where is yours? Even though you are 80 years or 70 years or 40 years, I'm 21 or 22, or I'm 15, this is the solution. Once you bring that solution, you defeat. Solutions defeat everything. I am telling you, once you have the solution, regardless of whether it's rejected or not, you have power. There is power in solutions. And once you speak solutions, even those who might never have known you, they will know you that moment. And that's why I said, anytime a young person takes a space to first solutions, people will listen to you, because there are people out of pride sometimes that cannot be able to explain that I need people to help me with this. But once you bring that solution, they will be forced to be able to engage you. And that is why I keep telling young people, don't rush up to people to pick their cards. Stay there, put your hand up, sell yourself from a solution perspective. They will come to you. Even presidents will start coming to you. Even like Kelly, I mean, how do we connect? Through social media, right? Why? because of his brilliant videos. Right? Even you had to reconnect because of that, we were able to connect, and then today we're here. So the point I'm talking that ideas bring people together and ideas transform societies. And the last part is to then focus on whether we are Generation Z or Generation Millennial or Alpha. To me, I think is a dichotomy that will cause more trouble in the fact that it makes us to think about our age in numbers rather than our ideas. And if it is that, regardless of how old I am better off because I can be able to advance these solutions to solve a problem in the community. Then I'm more important. And as I said, the young people of the continent, and let this credit be given to them, they're entrepreneurial, they're energetic, they're passionate. But my only worry is that sometimes that passion is injected into things that may not be able to move the needle forward, into back and forth, and into aspects that are not necessarily relevant, which is complaining. And then some of them will say, yeah, we need to complain. Yes, but we've been complaining for 60 years. Where is the progress? It means that there needs to be an alternative. And what's that alternative? Focus on the solutions. And the last aspect on that particular point is that I get a little bit worried when the language is that there are challenges. If there were no challenges, what would we be solving? These challenges that inspire us to devise solutions to solve them. And every time in the history of the existence of this earth, there were always challenges, and people always rose up. Selfless men and women rose up in the early 60s to fight for self-determined rule to liberate the continent. That was a challenge. But the biggest challenge we face today is not about liberating the continent for self-determined rule, because that was done. It's about liberating the continent from socio-economic challenges of food insecurity that, whether I read economics or I read environmental science or I read physics, it doesn't matter. I need to learn a skill to be able to turn a solution, a challenge, whether it is that my mother in the village still depends on charcoal. I need to start thinking, how do I start to find an alternative, like turning waste, which is household waste, to produce briquettes that can replace the charcoal. It doesn't mean that what you studied, you must only focus on it. And that willingness and ability to do so boils down to one word: passion. And so everybody listening to us should ask us, what is my passion in? Is it about cooking? Yeah, if it's cooking, cook African meals in a way that can pass a message. Yeah, you cook ugali, you cook skuma wiki, you put it with a little bit, is like ingoho and a little bit of samaki. You explain that this is what the message is passing, and that you can then be able to explain how climate change is affecting people, because this fish is going to reduce because our waters are drying up and all that. So you can use every skill and passion to pass a message and attract people to it. So age versus age is a misnomer. Ideas versus ideas is a winning pathway for Africa, because that will reduce this tension between the old and the young, which to me is just time wasting and not bringing anything.
Great, awesome, Kelly.
Yes.
You've been nodding the whole time, and I'm sure Dr. Munang has really given some good pointers. So, what do you think about the young people focusing on the idea? Because that's what Dr. Munang is stressing on. Focus on the idea generation, the solution, than maybe just give a highlight. What you think of that?
I was trying to chew. I was trying to chew wisdom here and there. Now,
you can see the father of wisdom talking about wisdom.
Yes.
Now you see, it's because of our inability to recognize the strength that the different generations have. Now, what happens is this: generally, dividing them into two. Age gives people a number of things. Number one, age gives you experience. Age will give you connection. Age can give you resources based on what you've done in between. So, and you see, that is now people who have at least advanced in age, you discover that they have connections. And, these people have a lot of experiences. And the advice they're giving you may not just be from theory. Maybe they also went through it, or they saw someone who went through it. So they're not giving you theory, they're giving you applicable knowledge. And of course, resources. Now, young people also have their advantages. These people have the risk appetite. they can still try a number of things without fear of failure, because they still have a lot of time to to correct themselves along the way. Young people have energy. I'll get in that. And the young people have time, because realize that they still don't have a lot of responsibility. So they have a lot of time to gamble a number of things, so they can try a number of things in between. If the two are brought together, energy meets experience, time meets connection, and risk appetite meets various opportunities around. This kind of combination can bring uncommon success. But if you limit yourself and only want to connect with people within your age limits, you discover you'll miss a lot of things because of ignorance. Other than that, so among the people who have acquired some age, and of course you can talk about the technology, coming in, technology trying to changing left, right, center, and begin advancing. Among the people that you may consider aged, we also have the early adopters, we also have the late adopters, and people who don't adopt completely. You will find someone who, despite the the emergence of the smartphones and the rest, they're still stuck to the same phone that does not deserve a name phone. It should be called a SIM holder. There's that small minute one that you can only call and text. They're still stuck that one. They cannot graduate to using the smartphones. That's like that. On the other hand, there are people who are elderly, yes, but they are so advanced because they're open-minded to adopting the technology as it comes. Other than that. So to me, this issue of generational things and the rest, it's a way of consoling one's self to mediocrity, massaging yourself to mediocrity, and finding a way of conforming to the perverse generation, finding a way of justifying perversiveness. I mean that. Yes, with my generation, it is because of my generation, not because of me, that I am like this. So you are passing blame something beyond your control, so that it appears like you are perverse, not because of you, but because of the circumstances that are out of your control. Other than that, so number one thing we need to know is that there are certain principles that can never be changed, and changing them will work against. That's why the Bible was written once, and ever since no one has revised it. Why? Because there are certain principles that will work no matter the generation. So when you want to veer off those principles, even in Africa, we have certain principles that are there to stay. It doesn't matter the generation. You go against them at your own peril. So if you want to find a way of coating yourself, galvanizing yourself out of those principles, then you have charted your way to destruction straight. So the issue of generation, I think it's just a matter of finding wisdom to be able to gel them together, to move together. Otherwise, you will miss a lot in the process. Thank you.
Amazing. And ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard what Dr. Munane and Kelly Inspiration have shared with us, you can see what they have to offer. And there's a lot that we can go on and on and on and on to discuss. By this point, I just want to inform you guys that there will be a book launch that they are planning to have next month. And the wisdom that is coming from Kelly Inspirations is what will be in the book. So Kelly Inspiration has written a book called Wisdom from African Proverbs, and they're really short proverbs that you could use actually in a day-to-day. There are things that, the way we're being told, the sun comes, I don't know, I can't really tell all the proverbs that could be in the book, but Kelly, could you just tell us a highlight of what to expect?
Oh yes, now this one is a compilation of...
There's a comment here, let me just read this comment, which is actually quite true.
Okay.
Kelly Inspiration is being too honest with this generation thing. You're being too honest.
No, the thing is, it's either give you painkiller and you stay with the disease, or I give you surgery and remove the disease permanently. And surgery is the truth.
Okay.
Yes.
Sawa. Noted. Please tell us about wisdom from African proverbs. As people have just had a taste of what you have to share here.
Now, if you hang around a beautiful girl without saying anything, one day you will fetch water for guests in her wedding. Now, that is an African proverb that talks about taking advantage of opportunities. Because if you don't take advantage, the thing is this. You see, ideas are like pollen grains that will only benefit a flower that is ready to receive it. Other than that. So
I'm writing that. So.
If an idea falls on you and you don't have the capacity or you don't have the mindset to make good use of it immediately, someone else will take advantage of it and you will see that person using it right there, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's what happens. Of course, literally, I've seen guys who thought they were dating, and they were dating in their mind, but they never spoke to the lady. And you see, when they see a man talking to that lady, they feel jealous. Okay, and they will talk bad about it. But they don't have the moral rights. They don't have the obligation. They don't have the honors to question this lady, or rather to say anything. Why? Because they didn't speak. They didn't sell their agenda. Someone else who probably the lady would not even consider that was bold came and spoke the mind and collected the lady officially. Other than that, the same thing. You could be highly qualified. You have all it takes. You have gone to school. You have all the exposure. You have all it takes. You got the idea, but you never took action. Someone that is less qualified but had the courage came and took it and employed you to help them run the same vision that you had, but never acted. See, these are some uncommon wisdom that we get from the African proverbs. I agree with that. But because of the same thing that you're talking about, the generational thing, people think that proverbs are old school. So you leave proverbs because of old school, not knowing that you're leaving granary of wisdom behind. And so I came and compiled the wisdom, some unique proverbs, and got uncommon wisdom out of them, and I shared them in form of a book that I believe will transform lives.
Amazing. Yes. Amazing work. I'm yet to get my hands on the book.
Yes.
So I hope that I'll get the first copy.
Definitely. Don't worry. You'll get the book.
Yes. Okay, great. So, Dr. Munang, let me just say this. First thing, I am an environmentalist. I did my degree in environmental science. And going through the first chapters of your book, I totally related to quite a lot. Because in the first 3 chapters, you gave us a history of, hey, no. I'm not going to give out anything here. I'm just realizing that if I go too much, I'll be giving out so much information. But you shared about your journey as a young person, even to where you are right now, and your passion for the youth, not just because many people like, oh, okay, now just an agenda on climate change, but again, it's not so bad as well for climate action and environmental. As an environmental champion, but then we are looking at sustainability beyond the environmental aspect. How can a young person relate with people? How can a young person develop themselves? That's all that sustainability comes with it. So would you just like to tell us about what innovative volunteerism is? Because that is the title of your book, Making Africa Work Through the Power of Innovative Volunteerism. And you highlighted to us how we should focus more on the idea, on the solution more than the challenge. So you're coming in with telling us that the solution here would be if we volunteer innovatively. Could you just give us a highlight on what that means, innovative volunteerism? Yeah,
when you look across everywhere we are, from our villages where we grew up, and to cities where we happen to be today, every society and every space have got its own challenges. So we are a world of challenges, and it was created that way. But
yes,
one of the beauties is that the capacity of a human being to innovate and transform challenges into opportunities is immense. But on the hindsight, the attitude of focusing on what doesn't work, on what has failed, seems to have overtaken also quite a very long time. But unfortunately, the continent of Africa, as it is today, it's a cradle of humankind. And not just a cradle of humankind, because all human beings were actually, they were born in this continent and then they migrated to other places. But it is a cradle of solutions, not only to Africa, but to the world. But for quite a very long time, we have forgotten that. And in the course of forgetting that, the continent then have been reduced to be a continent of 365 days of sunshine. True, but yet over 620 million people without having access to electricity. That's paradoxical. So it's a continent of over 65% of uncultivated arable land. Yet we have over 257 million people going to bed hungry. That's paradoxical, right? So that the continent mentioned any time, it's a continent of adversity, of poverty, of food insecurity, of energy poverty, of youth unemployment. True, yes, it is. But on the other side, what is not mentioned is the people, their ingenuity, their innovativeness, their skills, their talents, their passions that outweighs money. Because when you take human capital, it is the biggest resource. It outweighs financial capital by 15 times. And even produced capital, which is our minerals, our oil, our natural resources, by 4 times. This is enormous, and this is not part of the mainstream of development discourse. And therefore, why I'm putting this perspective before I get to innovative volunteerism is that once a human being knows what he or she have got, that human being is unstoppable. And that is why feeding the mind with the right information and inspiring somebody to ignite that flame inside him or her is the biggest tool that we can ever give any human being, and especially Africans. And so because the humans, and especially Africans, have been missing in the equation of development because the focus has been on Africa's scenery, our animals, our elephants, our seas, our lakes, our beautiful sceneries and minerals, we then have relegated and not know what we can offer. But yet, if we just look at what we can offer by using our skills to do what we can do, using what we have, we will start to turn those challenges we've been complaining about into opportunities. And that ability for each and every one of us to leverage what he or she have got, the skills, the talents, to do that which can help one another, to voluntarily volunteer yourself in the solution space, to learn a skill so that you can turn a challenge into an opportunity, is the essence of innovative volunteerism. And the reason for me coming up with this concept was that when you look at Africa's challenges, they are not unsolvable. Africa's challenges are not unsolvable. They are solvable. But it's people who do development for themselves. It's individuals who need to arise. And the easiest way for us then to arise is to use what we have, because you can only get what you don't have by using what you have. But the attitude has been that we can get what we don't have by not doing anything and by just leapfrogging to it. It doesn't work. It's a lie. And therefore, if we can then be able to focus to learn something that can help us, to use YouTube to learn how we can be able to turn waste to biogas, so that at least we can have cheap biogas that we can market. We will make money in the process, solve an environmental problem, but at the same time, solve a poverty issue, energy poverty issue in our community. That as an individual we can do. That we can be able to come together with like minds, contribute little money, put in a chama, take a loan, to then set up a biofertilizer factory at a very small scale and start turning waste to biofertilizer to replace chemicalized fertilizer. That we will make money, but we'll be solving an environmental issue of chemicalized fertilizer being applied to destroy our soils. That we can then be able to come together, learn how we can develop a simple solar dryer to help our mother to dry their vegetables, their skuma wikis. And that when we learn that skill, we can train other people. And in the course of doing so, we make money. We help the mother put food on the table as we put money in our pockets, and the community problem is solved. And that's an environmental opportunity. So the essence of innovative volunteerism is actually turning our passions into profits. And in the course of doing that, solving society problems and inspiring action are not problems, because problems are disguised opportunities.
Problems are disguised opportunities. Amazing. So I think I'd just like to read something that I've scribbled through from what you have mentioned, both Kelly inspirations and both Kelly and Dr. Munang, is that the problems that we have, yes, they tend to look more complicated, but rather we should turn on the bright light and see that these challenges are actually opportunities for growth. Because when you talk of making Africa work through innovative volunteerism, and then put it together with the values and the proverbs and the wisdom that these two books are coming to give us, I feel like we would, as you mentioned, we will tap into the passion that somebody has and then create a solution out of it. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. I don't know if there's any comment. Let me just check the comment sections. Oh, somebody has just highlighted here. Yes, problems are disguised opportunities. Interesting. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let me see if there's another comment. Let me see if I find another comment. Kelly is being too honest. You're too honest.
Someone said again, brutally honest.
Yeah. Which is great, which is great. Your motivation videos are very nice. I think that is what to both of you. And then there's a comment here, Daktari, there's that's wisdom. We should be producing. Most of us consume. Consumption is what gives that. Oh, sorry, I didn't get that comment clearly. Let me see someone else. AI is really becoming a thing. It's true, but again, as we've mentioned, let us not look at the challenge in itself, but the solution that you can offer. Because I don't think as AI comes to make the rest of us redundant. No, we still have something to offer. We have a lot to offer, actually.
AI is going to cause mental drainage. I use the word mental drainage guidedly, in that if one is not agile to learn something new, most of the things that we wait for others to do will be done by machines, and automatically people will be displaced. But that is also a disguised opportunity that we can start learning how we can still use that very AI to facilitate us to do what we do best, but also need support in it. And that takes effort. Yeah. It takes determination. And this takes me to a point I wanted to mention, that we keep talking of excellence. Excellence is a product of adversity. If you've seen people who are good in what they do, they've gone through a lot in their life. Everybody who is excellent in what he or she does, he will tell you the other side that is not always shown. And anybody who is excellent and has never gone through adversity, it's never sustainable in what, and not consistent and persistent. Because then it means they didn't find purpose, because the purpose of life is to be useful. And once you know your purpose of what you can do to touch other people's lives, and it comes as a result of also your life experiences, like Kelly mentioned, when you look at the young and the old, each of them have something to offer. But even as an individual, you have something to offer. Unless you self-discover that, you will always be chasing the wind. And that is why I keep telling young people, especially, you don't need to do what Petronella is doing, or what Munang is doing, or what Kelly is doing. There's nothing to learn from them, but create your own niche. And that's branding. And to brand yourself, you don't brand yourself by abusing people. You brand yourself by offering solutions. You don't brand yourself by undermining those who've gone ahead of you because they have experience. You brand yourself by being so humble enough to learn from them. You don't Brand yourself by thinking that you are Ukoju today, that at least you have everything. Nobody knows everything, because in the school of life, we all have to be teachable, right? That ability to learn, to grow, and move. So the last aspect that I wanted to touch back to that is this. You know, victimhood mentality that we don't want to be relevant is outdated. Yes, you use the recalist idea. Look, there's absolutely nothing wrong for people to complain about what needs to be done. But the question is, in the process of complaining, what are you yourself doing? Because I don't understand how garbage littered in front of where you stay, you want government to come and pick it. What are you doing? Get it off the way and learn how to turn it into something that you can be able to market and make money out of it. So the externalization of problems to always have someone to do it has become part and parcel of our DNA. And what we need to do now is to resequence that so that it get injected out of our system rather than injected into our system. And that complaining attitude make us to lose opportunities, make us to lose challenges. At that point, that the person who have written on consuming, it was not clear, but what I would say is that we consume what we don't produce and we produce what we don't consume. That means we don't even know what we stand for. We export employment and then we import unemployment. Yet, at the end of the day, we talk about we want to progress. We export raw materials, which then create employment elsewhere, and then the things are marketed back to us at a higher price. So we end up spending more. That is not progressive thinking. Why? Because we still think that others have to do it for us. So the point I was just trying to bring is excellence is a product of adversity, and adversity prepares us to be able to learn and grow and get experience. Experience doesn't come, it's not given, it's earned through doing, and you're going to fail. And failure is a stepping stone to bigger things only if you learn through it. If you don't fail, you cannot know. If you don't know, you cannot grow. If you cannot grow, then definitely you are not going to achieve what could be achieved. And so that aspect that I mentioned of victimhood, of complaining and blaming people, doesn't take anybody anywhere. It only drains and dissuades. But if we focus on solutions and give our best, knowing that it's going to be hard before we can be able to emerge victorious, then we're going to be the best.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Daktari. There's a comment here. Maybe tell us more about the book launch. The book launch that is coming. Kelly.
The book launch.
Book launch.
Now, I mean, before I say anything about the book launch, please take a pen and paper and write this date, 15th of July. That is 15th of next month, please. Write it down in capital letters. If possible, red, bold.
Yes.
If you're using your phone, animate it so they can be blinking like this. 15th of July, 15th of July. Yes, let it be blinking. And the venue is Ufungamano House. Ufungamano House is at the University of Nairobi in the, you know, the hostel section. That is why it is. In fact, ask anyone, even if that person has never been to Nairobi, their instinct will tell them where Ufungamano House is. They will just tell you it's around that place. It's a place everyone knows. So we'll be launching the two books, the book for Dr. Muna and my book. And this is not just ordinary book launch. It will be a common event. We'll be gathering big crowd, people coming together to celebrate Africa. It will be a moment of inspiration, entertainment, and enjoyment galore. So please don't miss this whatsoever.
Enjoyment.
Yes. So people don't miss this thing whatsoever. I mean, missing this thing is a major calamity. Please, all of you should come to this book. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, our live is just about to be cut off to strictly 1 hour.